Ever feel like everyone else online is making a living off their passions? Like there's this creator economy train leaving the station, and you're stuck here like, wait, what about me? I've got ideas.
You're definitely not alone.
So this deep dive, it's for anyone who's felt that pang of what if. We're looking at some sources that claim 2025 is like make or break for this whole creator thing. Kind of intense,
Yeah,
right?
they don't sugarcoat it. These sources basically say the whole digital world is changing fast, like we're standing on the edge of a gold rush. But instead of digging for gold, it's all about grabbing attention online.
And the thing is, it's not just about getting rich quick, is it? It feels bigger. Like a whole new way people work is emerging. Creating things, sharing passions, maybe even ditching the 9 to 5 altogether.
Right, and the opportunity is huge. But our sources say that window of opportunity might be closing, not in a doomsday way, but more like things are going to get really crowded really fast.
Okay, yeah, that's a bit intimidating. More competition for everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly. One source even said something like the democratization of business opportunities. Sounds kind of jargony, but think about it. Like a few years ago, being an influencer seemed impossible. Now, someone making candles at their kitchen table can blow up on TikTok overnight. That barrier to entry is practically gone.
So it's good and bad. Amazing for anyone to get started, but also way more people to compete with.
It's not just the sheer number of creators, though. It's about how these platforms decide who gets seen, the algorithms. The earlier you're established, the better your chances as those algorithms change and get more complex. In a couple of years, it's going to be even harder to stand out.
Which I guess is where this whole 2025 thing comes in. So if you're not already a YouTuber with millions of subscribers or selling out handmade pottery, is it already too late?
That's the question, isn't it? We'll definitely get into that. But it's less about being too late and more about understanding the rules of this new game. And not letting this 2025 thing freak you out so much that you abandon what you actually love to chase some algorithm. It's about finding that sweet spot where you, the real you, connects with what people want.
Which seems to be what everyone's calling authenticity these days. But what does that even mean if you're trying to build a business? Especially with all this algorithm stuff going on, it feels kind of fake to even think about.
It's a good point, and I think a lot of people get tripped up by that.
So how do you not come across as fake? If you're thinking about algorithms, what people want to see, how can you be authentic at the same time? Especially if you want this to be, something you can actually sustain long term, not just burn out in 2 years when the creator economy is even more intense.
It's a balancing act, for sure. Staying true to yourself while also being smart about, like you said, the business side of things. And one thing our sources kept emphasizing was this idea of creating from abundance, not scarcity.
Okay, got to be honest. That sounds like something you'd see on a motivational poster in an office. No offense.
None taken. But it actually makes sense in this context. It's about shifting your mindset from there's only room for a few winners to there's an audience out there for everyone, even me. And the key to tapping into that, surprise, surprise, is authenticity.
Okay, so I'm seeing the connection here.
Yeah.
But how do you actually de-weigh that? How does being authentic become a strategy?
It starts with knowing what makes you unique. Remember that 5-step guide our sources talked about? Identify your niche, build your brand, all that.
Yeah, kind of overwhelming if you're just starting out.
It is a lot, but it all comes back to that first step, figuring out your niche. Because if you don't know what you offer, how can you be authentic about it, right?
It's like you can't just sell anything to anyone. Like trying to sell vegan burgers at a barbecue competition.
Yeah.
Probably not going to go well.
Exactly. You've got to know who you're targeting and why. And that's where understanding your own why, your passion, is so important. One of the sources actually quoted a ceramicist who said, people can spot a sales pitch a mile away, but when they sense passion, they line in. She focused on making pieces as she loved, not just what she thought would be trendy, and it worked.
So passion is important, but I think a lot of people worry, what if they put their all into it and no one cares? What if their passion just isn't marketable?
And that's where the niche part gets really important. One source said, it's not enough to just be passionate. You got to find where your passion, your skills, and an audience that actually wants what you're offering, where all those things intersect.
So it's not just about following your bliss blindly. There's the strategy to it.
Yeah, you could be the most talented knitter in the world, but if you're trying to sell hand-knitted tea cozies when everyone's all about minimalism,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough.
Yeah, poor tea koozies. But you see people building whole businesses around teaching people to knit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just what you do, it's how you do it and who you're talking to.
100%. One source even talked about this woman who was obsessed with vintage maps. turned it into a whole business. But she didn't just sell the maps. She framed them in cool ways, wrote blog posts about their history, even created an online course teaching people how to restore old maps. She found all these different angles to share her passion.
That's amazing. She found all these ways to express the same passion to different people. Makes you wonder, can you figure that out before going all in? Like, how do you know if you've actually got something?
Well, that's where...
You were going to say something about figuring it out before you go all in on an idea.
Right. One of our sources called it dipping your toes in before diving head first.
I like that.
It doesn't have to be this huge, scary thing. You don't have to quit your job and bet everything on day one.
Thank goodness for that.
Start small. Create some content around your idea. See what kind of response you get.
Test the waters.
Exactly. See if people like it. Do they engage with it? Ask questions. Share their own experiences. That's how you know you're onto something.
And that takes us back to something else. Those sources emphasized content is king, or queen, I guess.
Right. Content is everything.
They were very clear. Just having passion isn't enough. You got to be able to share it in a way that people actually connect with.
Wow.
Where it's entertaining, informative, whatever fits your style.
And again, it goes back to knowing your niche, like that map lady we were talking about. She didn't just post random maps online. She told stories, shared historical facts, even showed people how to spot fakes. It was fascinating.
Okay, now that's a deep dive I can get behind. I love maps.
Right. See? There's an audience for everything.
That's true. The more you know, the more you can share.
Yeah.
And the more genuine it feels. Not just like trying to sell something all the time.
And that actually brings us to the last step in that guide our sources talked about. Invest in yourself.
Oh, here comes the self-help guru advice.
No, not like that. It's more about the business side of things. This is where a lot of people stumble. They forget about the business stuff.
Because it's scary. Or they don't know where to start.
Exactly. But learning even a little bit about things like SEO or email marketing, even basic accounting can make a world of difference.
Because even if it starts as a passion project, if you want it to last, you got to treat it like a business.
100%. And that doesn't mean it can't be fun. It just means understanding the game you're playing.
Which is, let's be real, still a pretty new game for a lot of people.
Exactly. Remember how we talked about the democratization of business opportunities? Well, the other side of that is everyone's kind of making it up as they go along.
Which is exciting, but also terrifying.
Yeah.
When you've got this 2025 deadline hanging over your head.
About that. I honestly think it's less about a hard deadline and more about a call to action.
Okay, I like that. How so?
Well, the creator economy is changing fast. That's true. But instead of seeing 2025 as some kind of cutoff point, what if we think of it as a benchmark, a time to look back and see how far you've come?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
A progress report instead of a pass-fail test. So for anyone listening who's feeling that little spark, like, yeah, I've got passions I want to explore, but also feeling overwhelmed, like, where do I even begin? What's one tiny step they can take right now, today, to get started?
It's so simple, but just grab a notebook or open a voice memo on your phone, whatever works for you, and answer this question. What lights me up so much that I have to share it with the world, even if you don't know how you'd share it yet? Just getting those initial thoughts out is huge.
It's like they say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly.
Except in this case, it might be the journey of 1,000 followers or subscribers or customers who love what you do. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, keep those passions burning bright.